Welcome, beautiful soul. It's time to remember who we are. You were born for this moment, this breath. Nature teaches us and reminds us that whatever it is that we are searching for, that whatever our hearts and souls are longing for, we must know our unlimited power and worth. It's all already within us. So thank you for saying yes to this moment. Thank you for saying yes to this journey. And most of all, thank you for saying yes to yourself. Welcome, beautiful soul. Welcome, beautiful soul. It is such a joy and an honor to share time and space with you today. We are going to be talking about who are you really? Who are we really? There have been so many lies that we've been told, whether we realize it or not. Sometimes we even tell ourselves some of those lies, and we're going to talk about that today. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this is our very first session. So if you are listening in, then that means you are a part of something really beautiful, our inaugural podcast here for Beautiful Soul. We named it Beautiful Soul because that's what I believe you are. You are a beautiful soul. Whether you've been told that or not, you are. And so today, as we go into this space, which I hope is a little bit outside of time, that we can settle in and make space to be present and listen from the neck down, not from our cerebral mind, not from our cognitive needing to understand and dissect and define, but from that heart center, from that inner heart, that inner soul, that's what I want you to make space to open, to be able to receive what we have for you today. And again, our topic is, who are you really? Who am I really? It's time to let go of those lies. So let's start with breath. You will hear me talk about breath quite often, and I'm going to invite you, if you're able to safely do this, close your eyes. And let's notice right now our breath. Just pay attention to the inhale and the exhale without trying to change it. Feel that breath moving in and out of your nostrils. You can notice if the breath is high up in your head. Is it in your upper chest? Is it further down in your abdomen? We're simply noticing. And this is our time to let go of any tension that we've been holding on to, knowingly or unknowingly. We simply make space to let it go. And instead, we breathe in the calm, the relaxation, and the yes that you made time and space to be here. Okay, now let's take one deep breath together. We're going to inhale now for about 5 seconds. Fill up like a balloon. Deep inhale. And now hold it. And slowly let go. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Woo, I always say that breath is so delicious. I could sometimes stay there. Beautiful soul, I'm talking to you today. You know, when I look back at my life and wow, over the decades, I think back to what it would have been like. And I want you to think about this question. What would it have been like if, as a child, through your adolescent years and period, and as a young adult, if you always knew that you were more than enough? What would it have been like for you to experience knowing that you have the courage, the strength, the power, the love to be you? And what do I mean by that? I look back and I know that in my childhood, and everyone meant well, no one meant to cause me harm. Thankfully, I can say that. I was told, be good, be a good girl, do the right thing. I'm using air quotes with this whole idea of right thing and be good, because there was a standard that someone else had set. I don't even know if the people who were setting it for me knew who set this standard of what it means to be good, to be right, and what it cost me, because there was a cost to that, was not knowing my own voice and my own truth. Now, if you are able to, you can raise your hand if this is you. And instead, I learned early on how to conform and how to squeeze myself into a form, a mode that was not authentically me. And it cost me some joy. It cost me some confusion. It cost me not knowing my own truth. Now, you're going to hear a lot about my journey throughout this time on Beautiful Soul. I'm going to start off with one that usually catches people's attention. And I sometimes forget this part of my journey, but it came up just now, so I'm going to share it with you. That when I was 25-ish, I was married the first time. And when I look back to that period, and yes, I am way over 25 today, I look back at that time and I feel sad for the young woman who I was then, who didn't know what it meant to know herself, and instead was so busy focusing on fitting an outward ideal of what will be good for you. That you need to marry this person because on the outside it all looks great. It checks boxes. It looks like what you've been told. And in reality, that experience ended up being one of the most painful ones because it meant me having to reconcile that I created a pattern, I created a choice with consequences that meant I was living outside of my truth. Now, that was a powerful lesson. And I remind people to this day that when we stuff down our truth, because I say before that marriage, I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. And I sought out all of the shallow people around me. No offense to shallow people, but I did not seek the people in my life who I knew had wisdom for me because I was scared to hear what they might say because I had a little inkling that this wasn't for me. And yet, the powerful thing about this journey is that everything teaches us and is for us. So even though it wasn't for me, there was a powerful lesson and I regret nothing. That does not mean I want to relive everything. I regret nothing. The lesson it taught me was know your own voice. Know who you are really. You are powerful enough to choose your choice for the present, and in marriage, your choice for the future. Now, what does that mean, present? Oh, wow, that's a powerful one. Because in presence, we are able to tap into the reservoir that will always let us know who we are and our worth. Now, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes again for a moment, if you're able to do this safely. You're not in your car driving. And as you close your eyes, we're tapping into that place of imagination and of deep knowing. I want you to ask yourself, what is it that I've held on to that was not true for me? What's at least one thing I've held on to? Or maybe I'm holding on to it now that's not true for me that I can let go of. And you can open your eyes. And this ties into my story. What I know there's always space to let go of is thinking about what someone else is going to think about me. Ooh, now that's a big one. It sounds so easy. Well, I don't care what other people think. On some levels, no, we don't. And on other levels, I see in the nooks and crannies, yes, there is a considering and a changing and a stuffing down who we are out of concern what someone else may think. We're worried about disappointing someone, offending someone, hurting someone. Now, I used to think that I was a people pleaser. And I know now that I was really someone who was scared. I was walking in fear, calling it people pleasing. Some people may use the term that you were a peacemaker. No, I wasn't. I was walking in fear. Fear of, I don't want to experience the discomfort of your discomfort with me. Now let that settle for a minute. I was too worried about someone else's discomfort because it would make me feel uncomfortable that I decided instead that I would shrink and serve outside of me a platter of what I thought you might want. And if I do say so myself, I was pretty darn good at that. I could give people exactly what they wanted. I could give them that good girl. I could give them the person who made the right choices, using air quotes again. What I was out of practice with. And it culminated in that moment of you actually don't even know your own truth. Your own body is giving you signs that something's not for you, and you don't even understand how to pay attention. So that experience ended up being one of my greatest teaching moments, and I've had so many. And my close girlfriend, I hope she's listening in eventually, Vanessa, you know who you are, and you know what I mean when I tell this story. She would say, you know what? I look at your life and I notice that when you go through a hard time, you come through it quickly and you bounce back. And the reason for that, here's the secret, this is for everybody, is because when it hurts, and yes, life can hurt. Raise your hand and say yes to that. I also know if I need to learn a lesson, if this lesson is presenting itself for me, then let me full on learn it. Let me full on learn it. Let me full on experience it so that I'm able to come through it with a deeper understanding and knowing. So that means sometimes, yes, realizing and admitting the fear. That didn't always happen that way. I have stories for days, and I bet you do too, of when I let fear trump the courage. When I let fear win out over what I know is for me. Now let's get to the juicy part of who am I really? Who are you really? You are so exquisite. You are beautiful. You are perfectly designed for this moment. You are lacking nothing. Nothing. That any story in your own mind that says you don't have enough, no, it is simply a story. And you can decide to tell yourself a different one, to believe a different one, to believe the real truth that everything that you have need of is already inside of you. That the love that you have been created to be is already who you are. One of my favorite quotes, and I quote Rumi quite frequently, is you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. The entire ocean in a drop. And we go around living like I'm just a drop of something else, instead of realizing I'm the fullness of the entire ocean right here. That means whatever it is that I think I need, guess what? You already have inside of you. Doesn't make sense on a cognitive level. Our mind is like, what? That makes zero sense. It's not for the mind. It's for our inner heart, our inner essence to know this and to start living from that place. Now, if you can picture driving down the car, this monkey mind trying to get a hold of the wheel, also sometimes disguised and playing as my ego. And I need to remember and tell it, we always end up in a ditch, falling in a ditch whenever you are behind the wheel. We do not go along with our destiny when I'm listening to ego. Now, it's part of the big destiny of learning, but it's not in that now moment. I had a choice. And when I choose to listen to ego, wow, I'm setting myself up for a scenic route. A scenic route. We're going to go on a little detour, a scenic route. We're going to take a whole, and we're going to end up in a ditch often. That's what happens when my ego's driving the car. I don't know what happens when your ego maybe a hold of the wheel and driving. And so I say, I know I can't kick you out of the vehicle altogether. Sometimes I really wish I could. But instead, I say, get in the back seat. And if need be, we'll put a little duct tape on your mouth because I need you to be quiet. Because who should be driving our car is your inner heart and soul. That's where your truth is. You know. But sometimes we are so used to listening to these other voices that say you should have this job, live in this house, have this car, be around these people, be doing these things. And all of that just scoots us further and further and further and further and further from our truth. How do I know this? Because I lived it. I lived it. And waking up from that was both painful and liberating. It was an ouch and a thank you. And can I tell you, the thank you is always greater than the ouch. Always greater than the ouch. An initial ouch and a yes. Because deep down, you already know your truth. Your answers are inside of you. Now, people always ask, when you meet them at a party, like, who are you? What do you do? And whenever I'm asked that question, I take a pause because, wow, we're so used to defining people, including ourselves, in these definitions and boxes that are so inferior to the truth of who we are. So instead, I like to say, what is it that brings joy and life and light to who you are? What is it? What is it that lights you up? And for me, what lights me up is sharing, just like I am right now, reminding people of your magnificence, that you don't need to go out and do a journey to Mount Kilimanjaro. It's already inside of you. It may feel like you're going on a journey climbing Mount Everest to get there. It's always worth it. It's always within you. That when I was serving in a four-wall experience, and when I say that to people, they're like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" I mean, like, I literally mean I was serving in a church physical building community as a priest, and that time let me know that so many people at that particular period were searching for, who am I? And thinking that because you're a priest, you can help me through my problems and answers. And sure, there's a wisdom we can share. What I'm here to tell you, what I know without a shadow of a doubt, is that your answer is always within you. And so I want to hold space to help you find it. That you are already a light. I am a light. I am a light reminding you that you are light, so that you can remind people that they are light as well, and that you can shine and be the fullness of who you are. Now, that part right there, the shining part, that's what you're designed to do. You're designed to shine and flourish, to experience peace, to know that your name is peace. That does not mean that you're not going to hit some hard times. you'll be going through them. And those hard times, those experiences are not really who you are. They can't chip away the light of who you are. They simply reveal the strength in us, and they reveal when maybe I was listening to a false narrative. Maybe I was believing what I had been told. Maybe I wasn't ready to step into each now moment called trusting when I can't see it. Now, I'm also a science nerd. Oh, I love some science. And it really just infuses, surprisingly, my joy and my awe of all that is still unknown. Now, most scientists, when you talk with them, they will let you know that what we know is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of all that is still unknown. And that part of science just gives me chills because it confirms this greater mystery that we're living in a form, a body, and yet within us is a connection to all of life, to one another. Now think about it. We are connected to stars, to the moon, to the sun. We are living on a planet that is moving as we speak, and we can't even feel it moving, but we know it's moving because we have sunlight, and then we see moonlight, that we have summer months and winter months, all because we are rotating and moving on a journey continuously around the sun. And we can't even feel it, and yet it's happening. In the same way, there's a movement happening within each of us. There's a shifting of your position, of your perception, of the wisdom in you that says maybe it's time to put away the things that are not bringing me harmony, that are out of alignment with the real reason I'm here. Now, why are you really here? It's tied to who you are. So who you are really is why you are really. The two go hand in hand. There is no who without a why. Who you are really is why you are really. Now, I thought I was really here to, brought up during what I call the Gatorade Nike generation of like, just do it, just go to the next thing, just be the next thing. And I was always on the chase, on the hunt to like go accomplish the next thing because I thought that's where my power and my worth was. What I really thought was that I needed to have the acceptance and the approval of people outside of me because I hadn't tapped into knowing that I really have the strength to be who I really am, why I really am. I already told you. To be light, to remind us all that we are all light, coming home to light, coming home to the peace and the love that we are already. And we always have been. I haven't always known it. There was a long period of being asleep, of being afraid, of shrinking. All for what? Because I was so conditioned to believe in these outer messages that it's more valuable to please those around you, that it's more valuable to fit in than it is to honor your noble purpose and your noble truth, which is, hello, it's time for more compassion on this planet. It's time for more kindness. It's time for more listening, more grace, more forgiveness. It's time to stop labeling. It's time to stop cutting people off, to stop deciding that you know who someone is based on the outer. I don't care if it's their politics, their religion, their skin color, their body. It means nothing in comparison to the soul that we each are. Hello, beautiful soul. Who are you really? a magnificence that goes beyond what words could ever define. Who are you really? A resilience that whatever you're going through, whatever you have been through, and whatever may be waiting around a corner for you, it pales to the resilience in you to be able to rise and learn and thrive and flourish no matter what. That's who you are really. Who are you really? Hello, this one, forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves for not listening to ourselves, our truth, and forgiveness of those who hurt us. Hello, we all have been hurt. Not condoning it. I'm not trying to glorify it. It just simply is. And guess what? If we're honest, we have been hurt too and caused that hurt. So I've been the partaker of it, and I've also been the one who's caused it. There's enough when I look in the mirror to last a lifetime. So hello, we can let go of this weight of judgment and of blame, which only feeds a resentment, and an anger, which translates into a poison that causes us to be ill and sick instead of living in the wholeness that awaits us, the joy that awaits us. And we can change in each now moment. There's an invitation. Each now moment presents an invitation for me to decide, for you, beautiful soul, to decide, am I ready to believe the truth of who I really am? Am I ready to let go of a lie that says, I have to? That's when you know it's a lie, when you hear have to. I have to do anything. I have to please someone. I have to be there. Can I tell you there are no have tos? None. There's simply choice. And every choice has a consequence. And we can choose to either let our lights expand and grow, or we can choose what causes our light to be dim and weighs us down. It's all a choice. And there's constantly something out here to offer us what will replenish us and nourish us, and what will weigh us down and cause us to feel depleted and despair. It's a choice. And as we wake up to the truth of who we are really, we know that, wow, not only do I have a choice, I am actively painting the canvas called life. That the paintbrush is in our hands. That we actively have a part in painting the picture. Now, we don't know the entire picture, but the brush is in our hand. And we're able to tap in and listen when we ask ourselves the questions we're afraid to ask. Like, what is it really that's for me, and what is it that's not for me? What is the dream that I know has been deposited in me that it's time for me to fulfill, that I've been too worried about how someone else will think about? Whew, now that one right there, I may not have started this podcast if I had been listening to the voice that says, be worried about someone being offended, not liking it, not agreeing with you. Because it bumps against that old conditioning that says, make everybody happy, which is impossible and causes us only to be like stressed out. And again, that illness, that sickness that comes from trying to be what we are not. Now, it's so simple. Be love, be light. And we make it so complicated. I have made it so complicated. And little by little, that invitation, that whispering coming from your own inner heart, your own inner soul, which is saying, come on. It's time to shed all of that. Come on. And let the fullness of who you are begin to emerge. Come on. And share the gift that's been inside of you and that's waiting for this moment. Now, we all are so multifaceted. We all have tremendous amounts of gifts and deposits, and sometimes we don't even perceive it because we're too busy comparing to someone else. We're too busy looking at where someone else is through the eyes of I'm not enough. Who are you really? Always enough, already enough, could never not be enough. The fullness of who you are is a brilliance, a radiance that even pales to the sun that we're rotating around, connected to all of life. And just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not there. When that seed is planted in the garden, doesn't mean it's not there because you can't see it. It's just underground. And in the right season, it comes up and emerges. And it's always been there. So who you are really, we said magnificence, peace, light. You are courage beyond what you can imagine. Yes, there's always going to be a voice of fear. And I was telling my husband this morning, it's kind of like if we had known as children the power in us, then whenever fear would pop up, we would see it like a little mud puddle. And I would just like see it's there and no need to give it attention, no need to splash all in it and just move right over it. And then if you happen to get splashed by it, if you happen to fall in it, you just get up and you move on without having to remain there. The fear is always the distortion that says, I can't do it. It's not for me. I'm not enough. No one will love me. No one will forgive me. No one will understand me. Those are all lies. You were born for this moment. How do I know? Because you're right here. You're breathing. As long as we have breath in our lungs and we're right here, purpose is alive and moving and expanding through us and waiting for us. And so I'm excited to experience all of us coming into this understanding, this acceptance from the neck down of, yes, this is who I really am. This is who I really am. More than enough. Love. Loved. Called to love. Called to be peace in the midst of any storm. Called to rise. Called to show that there is nothing that could ever smash or take away the magnificence, the radiance. It's time. It's time for us to start saying yes instead of no, and I can't, and it's too hard. It's time for us to start saying yes to the gift that's already inside of you, whether you realize it or not. Start asking yourself about it. It's time to let go of a lie that says it's for other people and not you. It is for you. It is for you. It is for you, beautiful soul. I could go on and on. I'm going to pause now because I know that we will be back again. And I look forward to sharing more time and space with you. And I invite you to be gentle with yourself because that is the key. Gentleness, and here's another one, gratitude. That no matter what's happening in your life, gratitude opens the door for every dimension of abundance for you to see who you really are. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you, beautiful soul, for you being who you are. I'm grateful that you were here, and I look forward to our next time together. Thank you. Thank you, beautiful soul, for remembering who we are and for making time and space to be with us today. As you go forward on your journey to the known and unknown places, continue to listen to your inner heart and honor your soul, because your answers are always within you. Please consider supporting us in spreading more light and love with this message by simply liking the video below, subscribing, and consider sharing as well. Most of all, take gentle care and breathe. We see you. We thank you. Beautiful soul.